Well, good afternoon, and thank you for taking some time with us on Monday, April 20th, 2020. With me today is Missoula County Commissioner Josh Slotnick. I'm Missoula Mayor John Engen. We want to take some time today to talk with you about our acquisition of a downtown hotel called the Sleepy Inn for purposes of what we call non-congregate shelter. We've had some correspondence from some folks who are concerned about this, the timing, the speed, the price, and a number of other things. And we wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's happening. First, I want you to know that available on the city's website, that's ci.missoula.mt.us, under our agenda header, you will find all sorts of information, including a long memo from me, inspection documents, and more regarding this facility and how we got where we are. But wanted to let you know today, first and foremost, that we are dealing with a public health emergency. That's no surprise to anyone, but that public health emergency informs a lot of the actions that we're taking today. And what we have heard relentlessly from our health department, our incident command team, our emergency operations center is that one of the critical weaknesses in our system today to contain this virus, which we have done with some great success to date in Missoula, is to provide what's called non-congregate shelter. That means if you are a person without shelter today and you are tested for COVID-19, you need to be quarantined for a period of time. If you don't have a place to live, it's really difficult to quarantine. So what we've been doing is renting hotel rooms on an ad hoc basis. That has been difficult to secure. It's been difficult for hoteliers. And what the best practice we're hearing both at the state, federal, and local level is that having a facility set aside for this purpose makes the most sense. The Sleepy Inn has been on our radar at the city of Missoula before COVID-19 came about. We've been looking at facilities on the West Broadway corridor adjacent to our Missoula water facility for the purposes of land banking and redevelopment for affordable housing. Before all of this, our big crisis was affordable housing. And as I suggest, our housing crisis has been trumped by a public health crisis. And what we discovered is that a number of properties there were for sale, including the Sleepy Inn, which we had been very interested in acquiring for purposes of redevelopment. When this crisis hit Missoula, that is the COVID-19 crisis, weeks ago, we began talking about how we find a place to house people who are without shelter today so that this disease does not spread further in our community and rampantly, and the Sleepy Inn was identified at that time. So over the course of the last 5 weeks or so, we've been in negotiations with Sleepy Inn owner, and we've also been doing diligence around the nature of the facility, the quality of the facility, the condition of the facility, the location, our ability to acquire it, and if we were to acquire it, how it might operate. And we have all of those things sort of coming together as of last week. The price of the facility is $1.1 million. We have comparables from other hotels without an appraisal on this property, as well as comparables from real estate agents that suggest that price is reasonable. Out on the internet, there is an old sale price from 2013 floating around somewhere in the $600,000 range. Missoula is not experiencing a 2013 real estate market. And again, based on expert opinion, we believe that this is a price that's reasonable and fair. Folks have asked why we don't lease the property. The owner is not interested in leasing, and moreover, that presents a ton of challenges for the owner and for us as operators. A couple of things to note. One is we can acquire this facility. We can operate it as an emergency non-congregate shelter for people who have been either tested or diagnosed with COVID and need to go from quarantine to isolation. We can take care of those people safely. We can relieve pressure on our hospitals, and we can ensure that the virus does not spread. Can you imagine a person who has this virus, who's living on the street? And the number of encounters with other individuals and with first responders they might have. And I think it is not pretty. We can be reimbursed by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the state for the operation of this facility, and that reimbursement can go back to the redevelopment agency for use in other areas. The redevelopment agency can afford to purchase this today. It will not stall other programs. We do not have to bond or go into debt to pursue this property. And when the crisis is over, we will be able to shut the facility down and begin a public process of redevelopment. We would intend to use the process that we're planning for the Payne block, for example, downtown, where we get community input on what should happen there. My dream is that we provide mixed income housing and especially opportunities for low income people to live in safe, decent places in the core of Missoula, very near the Riverfront Trail and Russell Street. We've heard questions about meth contamination. We can remediate that. We don't believe that that is a significant hurdle here. This facility will be secure. That is, we'll have 24-hour a day management and 24-hour a day security to make sure the folks living there are safe, and that our rules are being followed. Those rules will be very similar to the rules that are in place in hospitals today. Today, you can't go visit someone in the hospital, nor can you leave if you are very sick. So we're going to follow those guidelines and operate this place in a way that's safe for everyone. Again, I believe that this is absolutely the right thing to do for our community at the right time. This is an emergency, and I hope that the City Council supports this effort this evening. Commissioner Slotnick has been privy to these conversations all along. He's been enormously helpful in helping us think through this process. Our relationship and partnership with Missoula County has never been stronger. He is a partner in all that we're doing. And Josh, I've talked a lot.
All right. So I wanted to just say a couple things. One of them is to reiterate something you said at the front end of this, but I want to reiterate it because this is so important. As we all know, this disease is vectored by people. Right? We carry this around to each other, which is why we have to be sheltering in place. So if someone is awaiting the results of their test, if they've been exposed to somebody who has this disease, if they are an especially vulnerable person, they should be sheltering in place, most obviously, not just sheltering in place, but literally quarantining themselves. If they have no home to go to, they will resume being a vector for this disease. This is a public health issue, not just this whole disease, but this specific piece of housing. We can provide non-congregate shelter for people who are in this perilous position. They will not then vector this disease to everyone else. That's what this is about. This non-congregate shelter is certainly about the people who are housed there, but it's also much largely about everyone else. We're going to help contain what could be a larger public health threat. The other piece I wanted to speak to was the county's partnership. Our Office of Emergency Management will handle the operations of this facility, and these are FEMA reimbursable expenses, which we can then get back to MRA through leasing the facility. And FEMA has said they are going to be reimbursing these expenses on a much more accelerated rate than they had in the past with things like floods, etc. So we are all trusting one another, and we're moving forward together to address this public health crisis and ensure the most safety for the most people.
So one of the things that's happened certainly over the weekend, Josh, and we're, as you know, making preparations today for reopening. We want to understand how we can do that safely, and so that's certainly happening at the federal and state level, and we've got a task force working on that locally as well. And the critical issue there is safely. And without this facility, we're stretching this thing out. We're going to make this last longer than it needs to because the community will not be as safe. And I think that's really important. A couple of other things to note. Some folks are concerned that we're taking a tax-paying entity off the tax rolls. The redevelopment agency, which has a discrete set of funds, will reimburse those taxing jurisdictions through a payment in lieu of taxes. We do that quite often when we put a nonprofit use in a property that was formerly paying taxes. So taxing jurisdictions, including the city's general fund, Missoula County, and the schools will not be harmed by this process.
There we go.
What are we missing, Josh?
Man, I think you got it all. I think we got it all. This is we are able to act quickly in a crisis, take advantage of available resources, and then in the future, repurpose those resources to create greater public good and be reimbursed for this through FEMA. So I think we are really making lemonade out of some lemons.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate all you're doing. Please, again, there is a ton of information about this on the city's website. Please review that information if you're interested. Please attend virtually our city council meeting this evening if you're interested in talking about the project. Please know that in this time of emergency, your local government is acting to protect the best interests of the community. And we've had to shift some gears to do that, but this is an opportunity that I think we would be irresponsible not to pursue.
There you go. Thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner. Everybody stay safe. Take care.